Spend, spend, spend. The hat is off the sun and you seem to be coming out to play.
Well, it's certainly the case that there was an optimistic message from David Cameron today about what this country can achieve if we follow the course that we've already started on. If we re-elect David as Prime Minister on May the 7th, then we'll be able to translate the long-term economic plan into a plan for each individual. That means that we'll be able to support people when they go off to work and they want to make sure that their 3- or 4-year-old is looked after. It means that we'll be able to invest in good new school places. And it also means, of course, that we will make it easier for anyone who wants to own a home of their own.
Well, we'll come to exactly how that works in a moment. But basically, if we stack all this up, $8 billion for the NHS, $350 million for free childcare extension, $1.8 billion for rail fare subsidies, $4.5 billion housing association tenants' right to buy. I mean, that's a lot of money, and not all of it is funded by any means.
These are significant sums, but they are funded. They're either a continuation...
Well, the $8 billion, isn't the Chancellor tried 18 times to answer the question to Andrew Marr and failed.
I thought he answered the question very clearly. We, over the course of the last 5 years, have invested £7 billion in the NHS, above protecting its budget, so that's additional money on top of what we'd already committed to do. And then this year, we're adding an extra £2 billion on top of that. Simon Stevens, the man who's in charge of the National Health Service, has laid out a plan.
Yeah, we know what you're doing. The trouble is we don't know where it's coming from. You haven't said where it's coming from.
It's coming from the same trajectory that we've already set out. If in 2010 we'd said that we were going to be able to invest an additional £7 billion in the National Health Service and take a significant number of people out of income tax and reduce the deficit by half, then I suspect that both of your eyebrows would have hit the roof. But that's what we've delivered. And the same thing now...
Well, it's not quite what you've done.
We have delivered that.
You've reduced the deficit not by 50%, but by 41%. That isn't half when I went to school.
I think that your figures there are slightly awry. We've managed to halve the deficit. But more than that, we're also today pledging to give people the chance to get onto the housing ladder. And you talked about the cost there. £4.5 billion will be raised by making sure that we sell the most expensive council properties when they become vacant. And that money will be used not simply to enable people who are in housing association properties to buy their homes. It will also ensure that we build more affordable homes and we transform brownfield land, which is currently not appropriate for building, so that we can ensure that there are even more homes which are constructed. So it's a win-win-win policy.
Well, not according to Boris Johnson, who on the 13th of March saw this coming and said it will involve massive subsidies and it would be people like him as Mayor for London who would have to pay it.
Not true. Boris was tweeting just before I came on about the policy, saying how good it was and how smart the policy was in terms of the money that we make from the sale of council houses. One of the things that we'd do is we would insist that local authorities, which currently sit on these assets and frankly don't market them in the way that they should, are compelled to sell them, and that means that we can get some of the high-end council house properties into the private sector so we can reinvest in helping people who need affordable housing to get it, as well as getting people onto the housing ladder.
Michael Gove, this has all the stink of social cleansing. You can offer these better housing elements that the local authorities have, you get them sold, and you then manage to put much richer people in, and gradually you purge the city of people who work, the people who do the work on the ground, the dustmen, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, perhaps not the doctors, they're better paid, but the nursing assistants and the rest of it. These people are being bled out of London. They're being pushed to places like Milton Keynes and the rest of it. There is not enough low-paid housing, and you're not going to improve it.
I admire your passion, but I'm afraid your analysis is completely wrong. And also the sideswipe at Milton Keynes, entirely gratuitous. It's a very attractive city. But critically, we have said that for every council property that is sold, we will build an equivalent affordable unit in the same local authority area. So it's not social cleansing, but it is the case that there are properties in London owned by local authorities which are worth more than £1 million. We've had cabinet ministers under the Labour government.
Right.
Frank Dobson living in a council house. We've had heads of trades unions like Bob Crow of the RMT living in council houses. These houses should not be there for the wealthy. We need to build new affordable homes for those people who deserve to get on the housing ladder.
Let me put a final point to you then. These are the plums that can be dropped from the tree when you come to the reality of this election, which is it's about a coalition. There will be a coalition at the end of this vote, and you'll be able to dispense with a large number of these bits and pieces because you won't be able to afford them, and they'll be wonderful to trade with whoever you have to do business with.
Absolutely not. There's a clear choice.
So these are red lines, are they?
No, we're not going to have a coalition. We only need to win 23 seats. We only need to win over 11,000 voters in those seats to secure a Conservative majority. And then we can have, which I know the country wants, David Cameron as Prime Minister, capable of governing in the national interest. The alternative to that is a coalition of chaos, a lethal cocktail of Ed Miliband and the SNP, more taxation, more spending, more borrowing. We know that Ed Miliband is the most left-wing Labour leader that we've had since Michael Foot. We know that he can't get into number 10 Downing
Street. The Liberal Democrats and the DUP will be chucking those plums off the trees. Those are the people you'll be doing your business with.
No, absolutely not. We're going to have a majority. But we know also that Ed Miliband could not secure a majority other than relying on the SNP, who would insist on him doubling down on spending, borrowing and taxing.